Today's topic of discussion, fighting words. That are words that we can use and keep in our minds in order so that we might fight this life and live on as transplant patients. Stay tuned. Well, hey, folks, I appreciate you joining with me today on the Transplant Helper Podcast / YouTube video series. My name is Jim Merle, and as you can probably see already behind me here, I'm recording remotely from a hotel room. So I'm not in my typical environment. So if the sound is not just what you would hope it would be, that's because I'm not in my controlled office or studio area where I normally film these programs. So maybe the sound won't be as good, but hopefully you'll still get a lot out of today's videos. I said in the teaser a moment ago, today we're talking about fighting words, and you've all seen people who get into arguments and they're talking back and forth. Someone says something about or to the other, and they turn back to them and say, them's fighting words. At least we say that in the South. Those are fighting words. And basically those are words that when they're spoken to someone else, they typically get under their skin. They agitate them, they anger them and such. But today we're using the fighting words to be a positive thing in our life, not a negative thing. Now, you understand, if you're a transplant patient already, whether you be pre or post for that matter, that oftentimes we have to really fight to live out this life. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be a thing of ease to live the life of a transplant patient. So you have to be ready for the fight. So without any further ado, let me give you 3 words today that you can live by and keep in your mind again so that you can fight this life and stand strong at the end of things. And as I say oftentimes at the end of a program, stay stronger. That's what we want to do. And these 3 words can help you to fight in order to do that. Number 1, I want you to put in your mind the word education. That is the word education, because all of us as transplant patients, we have to become resident experts on our own bodies, on our own cells, and on the conditions that we potentially could get involved in. If you've ever been sitting in a doctor's office and they've used words concerning diseases or concerning illnesses or concerning other situations that you didn't understand, it then becomes your duty and your job as a patient on the other side of those words to go home and research just what that is. Let me give you some examples. A doctor may say to a heart transplant patient, you're suffering from cardiomyopathy. And if you look at him crazy-eyed and you don't know what that means, then it's your job right now to turn and ask the doctor, what is that? Explain to me cardiomyopathy. Explain to me what that is and how that's affecting me. You need to know that. And if you don't receive that answer from your doctor, you need to go home and you need to start digging through books and articles and everything that you can online. And for me, I always keep this phone right here. I keep my iPhone right in my hand all the time because I want to know what I'm dealing with. And I don't want to have to wait to understand situations. And I can remember just a few weeks ago when I was in the transplant clinic, for example, the doctors came in and spoke to me about something that I wasn't familiar with. And when they went out of the room for just a moment, immediately that phone, again, it came out. And I started searching and researching the words that they used to try to understand exactly what they were talking about. So number 1, in order to fight this life, you've got to fight it with education. Number 2, and I've discussed this on a previous program I'll link to in the show notes or maybe up in one of these corners, but you also have to fight with separation. And by that I mean separation from disease, separation from infection. That's the name of the program, How to Fight Infection with Transplant Patients and such. You've got to be ready in your mind and in your heart, and certainly to put forth in your body, that you're going to stay separated from any potential people or situations where you might fall ill. And as I discussed in that program, you know, if you're going into work or you're going into the schools or the churches or out in the public and you're already aware that maybe the flu's going around your community, then you're going to have to put up a barrier of separation between you and them, whether it be time and space or maybe wearing that mask. And that can be very important, especially inside of the first year post-transplant. So let me encourage you to fight back with separation. Now, number 3, not only do we fight back with education and separation, but we also fight back this life with modification. That's a very, very important word. Again, something I've discussed in other programs concerning exercise particularly, and also our diet. I'll link to those programs, and you just click on and keep watching those too. But oftentimes as transplants, we have to really modify or make modifications to our lives in order to survive. Now, for you, For example, on the diet side, if you've got to stop eating so many cheeseburgers or chili dogs or pizzas, and I use those examples all the time because they're my kryptonite, they're my weakness, but you may have to stop eating some of those things and modify yourself so you replace some of those things with maybe a baked chicken or maybe a salad or maybe more vegetables and such. You've got to make those changes. The same applies itself on the side of your exercise program. If you're a person who, especially we all can get this way pre-transplant, where you spend the large majority of your time laying in a recliner somewhere, stretched out on a couch, or maybe in the bed, then it's going to take some modification there in order to get yourself back up and moving again, exercising, walking, jogging, anything that you can do to stay physically active is going to help you in this life. So this is considered kind of one of my quick tips because of the length of the program. But again, we as transplant patients, we have to fight back. We have to be prepared to go to battle and to fight for ourselves. And these three words, I'll name them again: education, separation, and modification. These are three words that I keep in my mind, at least in the back or the forefront of my mind, every day as I live. And I certainly assure you they have helped me, and perhaps they'll help you. Now, if this program today has helped you in any way, how about like, subscribe, and share this program, as well as I say sometimes, keep clicking. I'm oftentimes linking videos around the program, some of which will be mine, some will be from other resources that help us live the transplant life. That's all that I'm trying to do, is reach out and help you live the transplant life. Now, until next time, friends, stay stronger.